Welcome back to the Chorus Podcast. I'm your host, Milan Pierre-Jerome, and we are back with another season.
Pierre-Jerome able to somehow get away. Nice spin move. Pierre-Jerome comes up with it. Tries to move in. Fires a shot. Scores!
Welcome back to the Chorus Podcast. I'm your host, Milan Pierre-Jerome, and today I'm here with Jalen Haynes. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Good. I'm excited to have you. On this podcast, we just talk about, different stories, different journeys, and what got you to where you are today. So I wanted to just hear your story. So you're from Fort Lauderdale.
Yes.
How was that? How was growing up in Fort Lauderdale? When did you pick up a basketball?
Growing up in Fort Lauderdale, it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
The weather's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, not really too much things to do, but it's a lot of things to do out there.
Yeah.
We got the beaches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty nice, it's pretty fun. And just, picking up a basketball, I want to say my earliest memory of picking up a basketball, I want to say around 5 years old. Mm-hmm. Just be able to have like a little just messing around, not really taking it seriously, but that was like the first time I ever touched a basketball.
And was it always just basketball? You played other sports or?
Growing up, how parents just want to get you active, start doing lots of different sports. So I did a little baseball, a little soccer, a little football and basketball. So that's pretty much it.
Were you good at any other sports other than basketball?
I played a little football.
Okay.
I was okay at that.
What position?
I played defense and tight end. So that's really it for real.
Okay. Where did you play football?
I stopped in Little League. So like in middle school, I stopped playing football like in middle school. It was just too much doing football and basketball at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So then where'd you go to middle school?
I went to Dillard for middle school.
Oh, you went to Dillard and high school?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So once you got to Dillard in middle school, were you always good at basketball? Did this something that happened? It came over time?
I played AAU before I got into middle school and stuff like that. So that was pretty much the main thing. I wasn't really doing no other sport besides basketball at the time. So that was pretty much the main thing.
Mm-hmm. So then once you got to Dillard, how were you guys doing in middle school? Were you guys doing well? How was your team?
Team was always good, Didn't really get to play that much until my 7th, 8th grade year. So 6th grade, it was kind of fun. I was just going through the motions, just as a 12-year-old, just out there having fun. So that was pretty much it.
When did you know you wanted to take basketball to the next level? When you wanted to take it serious?
I'll say when I started taking it serious, I'll say my 10th grade summer. Okay. That's when I really took it more seriously, getting myself prepared for my junior year. Okay.
So why did you decide to stay at Dillard for high school?
The connections that I had with the people, being coached by almost the same coach for almost 5 to 6 years. So, I just felt comfortable there and the connection I had over there. Mm-hmm.
And then, we know a lot of the same people. So Jamari, how did you meet Jamari?
I met Jamari do basketball, play AAU. Mm-hmm. So that's why I met Jamari. I think that was I want to say 7th grade, 6th, 7th grade. That's when I first met him.
Or Chop.
Yeah, Chop.
Yeah.
That's everybody. Everybody call him Chop.
I never call him that, but okay. Okay. And then went to high school and you guys went to the state championship.
We went to the state championship my junior year and senior year. And lost both times. Okay. Recently lost to Walter Clayton that just won his national championship at Florida. Okay. So he beat me my senior year.
What team was he? What team did he play for?
I forgot what high school team Walt went to. But he beat me my senior year. Okay. So then when you were in high school, did you know where you wanted to go? Was there a dream school you had, or was it was just whatever would be the best option for you? I guess say I had dream schools. I had I had like, some schools that really like took interest in me.
Yeah.
But the goal, I really wasn't ready for that level yet. So, after I graduated my senior year in 2020, I went to prep school. And for 2021, got myself better in order to go to college, actually.
So that was during COVID. So did you have like classes and stuff, or everything was?
It was classes, but everybody had to wear masks at the time. So
how was that experience?
Not really the best.
Yeah.
They really forced it at the time because COVID was like really fresh. So no matter what we was doing, we had to wear masks, and it was like kind of tough.
Okay, so then you said you went to prep school, and how was that experience? Where do you feel like it helped you in your game going that last year?
Just be able to focus more on basketball. You know, we did schoolwork, but not too much. You know, so especially for me, I was a little older, so I didn't really have to do that much school, but just mainly focusing on basketball around time.
Okay, so then I know once you left there, you went to VTech, and then you went to ETSU. Yep. So what made you choose to go to ETSU?
The coaches was like recruiting me really hard.
Okay.
I felt confident in them. They had a plan in me, and they gave me their word that they was gonna stick with the plan like no matter what. So that's where I felt most comfortable going to. So
what was your mindset going into college?
Man, mindset was just to get better.
Yeah.
I was around a group of guys older and 22, 23. So, just be able to soak all that information in and get better.
And then you had a dominant season there, and you played a lot. So what do you think helped you get to that point of just dominating throughout that time there?
Just confidence. Like I said, my coach had a plan for me. And, be able to be confident with myself and with other people around me just helped me succeed.
Did you enjoy the school, like outside of basketball?
Yeah, I enjoyed the school.
Okay.
It's a nice town. So I enjoyed myself.
Do you have like a favorite memory from there?
I don't know about a favorite memory, but I have a lot of good memories that I had over there.
Okay, and then so you were there for 1 year, or you were there for
1 year.
Okay, and once you were done there, what made you want to transfer to Mason?
So my coach that was at ETSU, he got the job over here. So that was like one of the idea. I felt comfortable with him. Yeah. So that would make sense. And, Darius, he was at VT my freshman year. Okay. And so when they got Darius, I was like, kind of like a no-brainer. I felt comfortable with those two guys around me. So that made sense for me at the time.
Were you looking at any other places? Was it like a hard decision to choose Mason, or you felt like it was?
I'll say it was a hard decision because either that between USF and Tampa. Okay. That's closer to home, about like 3.5 hour drive. So, it was between those two schools, they was pushing hard for me to go there. So I just felt more comfortable here at Mason.
Do you ever like miss home, going back home, or you like being out of the state?
I do miss home from time to time, just being able to have the access to go home. I feel that's a plus. Yeah. But we don't really go home like that. So whenever a chance I do get to go home, I pretty much take advantage of it.
And then so you got to Mason.
Right.
What was your first impression when you got to the campus? Like, did you was it everything you expected? Were you excited to start the season? How was that process? How was that transition?
The campus looked pretty nice. It looked like a regular college campus to me. I've been to a lot of spots, so it didn't really what's the word I'm looking for? Just overwhelm me. Yeah. It didn't overwhelm me. Yeah. So, that was like okay. Then with the season and stuff, just be able to prepare, for the season, not knowing if I was a good player or not. Right. So, preparing well, that just kept me going in this whole process.
So when did you just find out that you weren't going to be able to play that season?
I want to say, because they said I had to go through a little process or whatever. So just waiting on the process and the waiver to go through. It was a possibility that the waiver was going to get denied. So just, not even like I'll practice with the team, but like not actually putting on the jersey. So just going through that, then once it did pass, it did pass in late December.
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity to play, but I just didn't feel comfortable just playing for 2 months. So, I just chose to sat the year and just let it all play out.
Mm-hmm. So, you were a big voice on the bench, and you were, I know you practiced. And how was that role? What was your role on the team that year?
Just be a positive guy.
Yeah.
Bring energy to the team. Even though Coach said I wasn't playing, he still said I had a voice, just help the guys out and stuff like that. So, that was the most important thing at the time.
Mm-hmm. And then what did you do to prepare for this season, you feel like?
Just staying ready.
Yeah.
We got practice and stuff like that. But when it comes to the game, just staying ready and just staying locked in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then now you're at this past season.
Right.
And you had a great season. What was your mindset going into the season, knowing that you could play, knowing that you've been staying ready the past season? What was your mindset?
Just be able to come in, have fun.
Yeah.
It was just one of these years, I was prepared. I got ready for the moment, and, I just succeeded. So at that time, I was just getting mentally prepared for everything.
Mm-hmm. So you guys had a lot of new players that came in from your previous season. So why do you think it worked so well? Because you guys did have a successful season.
Just staying connected. We had a good group of guys. We like being around each other. We like hanging out with each other. So, just being well connected at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then you went through the season, and you guys became regular season champions. I know you got like a top 10 Sports Center moment, and you dunked over like 2 people. So what was going through your head in that moment? Because you were I'm
not gonna say I was expecting that. That was really unexpected. Skin. He called the play, and one thing led to another. It was a good moment. Everybody jumped in those moments, just being on, Sports Center top 10.
Yeah.
And just seeing their highlight on there. So, it was like a dream come true, or something to scratch off my bucket list, I'll say.
That's good. And then I noticed when you do things like that, people are your teammates. I can't do it with both hands. But where did that come from? Like, what is that?
My teammates, being funny as they always are. I just recently finished my arm with tattoos and stuff like that. So I have an alligator on my bicep. Okay. And your teammates just being silly, they just started doing stuff. And they said, when you get like a big play or a little highlight, just do it, and we go do it with you. And it became a thing. The crowd started doing it, and everybody started doing it. So
that's tough. Yeah. Everyone did. Everyone. When you walk through for the lineup, when we were in the A10, the championship, everyone, the whole arena is doing that. So that's tough. I like that. So I know you have a lot of tattoos. You have a favorite tattoo you have?
I'll say the one on my bicep, the little gator one. It also say Broward on it as well. So that's pretty much my favorite one.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
and
so
the one I got on my tricep, it got all my siblings and stuff like that on it.
That's nice. That's nice. Okay, so then top 10, and you were just you were having a good season. Like, you were just balling and you were having fun. What do you think was contributing to that fun?
Just a positive mindset. You know, just going in every day and practicing, working hard, and just being at peace. With the game, and just being positive.
And then you guys got to the game where you knew you could become regular season champions. So what was going through your mind then? How did it feel to win the game?
Just go out there, play hard. That was the goal. It didn't end like how we wanted to end. Like, in a sense. So but, we played hard, we fought. At the end of the day, we just became regular season champions. And that was the goal, just go out there and win the game.
And then you got to the A10 championships, and you guys did well. You went St. Joe's, UW. So how was that atmosphere? I know it was loud in there. You had that play at the end of the game when Katie threw out the ball for you. So how was that atmosphere?
The atmosphere was great. everybody was riled up. Everybody was ready to play in that moment. And, you know, as a group and as a team, we was all locked in. So that just made it great, you know. And the play at the end against St. Joe's, you know, it wasn't expected. Yeah. But, you know, we had to end the game off with a bang, and that's what we did. And I'll say that's probably one of my favorite, like, moments from this year.
And then once that, you know, you guys finished the tournament, you went into the NIT. How was that experience? How was that tournament?
It was a good experience. That was my first time ever playing in the NIT. So, you know, it was fun. I enjoyed it. My teammates enjoyed it, but it didn't end how we wanted to end. But, you know, that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. And then I know you have the nickname Big Slime. So where did that come from? Where did you get that nickname?
Man, I don't know. I remember last year I was at an event. You know, I went home for like a couple of days. And, you know, I just came back and, you know, everybody just calling me that. So I'm like, I didn't question it. You know, it's a little catchy. So, you know, I just kept it.
Okay. And then, so NIT is done. What is next for you? What are your new goals? I know you're in the portal. So.
Right now the goal is, you know, to continue to play basketball, of course, no matter where it's at. Just right now I'm just focusing on basketball, getting myself prepared for the next season where I'm going to be at, no matter if it's, you know, pro or at another institution. So, you know, just getting myself ready for that.
And what does that next step have to look like for you? Like, are there any wants?
The one is, you know, just stay hungry. You know, that's the main goal. You know, never get complacent. You know, just stay ready, be in the gym, and, you know, somebody's going to call my phone when it's time.
Do you have any, like, superstitions or things you got to do before you play, or routine?
I'll say one of my superstitions, like, if I have gum, like, before a game or, like, in practice or, like, right before a tip-off, I'll put the wrapper, like, in my sock. Like, I'll ball it up and I'll put the wrapper in my sock instead of just throwing it away. I just feel like that's always, like, good luck.
Okay. So you always have to do that? Yeah. Okay. And do you have a certain artist you listen to, or certain playlists, certain songs you listen to?
I'll say just, you know, the main 3 artists that's, like, really playing for, like, me for games, or just, you know, I'm just, you know, cool and vibing by myself. I got FCG Heem, he's from Broward, No Cap, and, you know, Rod Wave. So those are, like, the main 3 that's I constantly play.
If you had to listen to only one artist for the rest of your life, who are you listening to?
I'll say Rod Wave. That's the GOAT.
So you're only that's the only artist you're gonna listen to
for the rest of my life.
What's your favorite song from him?
All his songs are just, you know, great. You know, there's really no misses for real.
Okay, know. Favorite album?
Favorite album? I'll say Beautiful Minds. That's that's a great album. Okay. That's a great album, Beautiful Minds.
Have you seen him in concert?
Man, I went to a concert 2 years ago in DC.
Okay. Which one was that? That was Nostalgia.
That was Nostalgia, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Nostalgia.
Did you enjoy that concert?
Man, I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. I was close enough. So, you know, I enjoyed myself. Hopefully he sees this, you know. But we'll see.
So do you make music or anything? Is there anything, what's things that people don't know about you?
Man, it's just video games and basketball at this point. So it's not really much I do that's out of the ordinary. So
what video games do you like to play?
Just simple ones, 2K, Call of Duty, GTA, stuff like that. Not really too much, nothing crazy.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, well, you have any questions for me? You have any anything you want to know? I think it's crazy though how, like, we are from the same city.
I'll say that's the only thing that's crazy.
You know, like,
someone that's from, like, the same city as me that's here.
Yeah, we ended up in the same. Yeah, we know the same people.
Yeah, we know the same.
And we
people.
we never met each other.
Yeah,
we never met each other. Never in high school, middle school, none of that.
Nothing. So that is crazy.
Yeah,
that's the only crazy thing.
That's good though. Anything else? Anything else on your mind that you want to talk about or ask me?
We're pretty much well acquainted. So not really no questions, no statements. We talk a lot when we see each other.
Yeah.
So not really much.
Okay, well, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your next chapter and whatever is next for you.
Absolutely. That's the goal.
And we're all supporting you. And
for sure.
Yeah. So I hope you had a good time. Did you have
I had a great time, an amazing time with Milan, Pierre, Jerome.
The full government name is crazy, but that's good. So make sure you guys follow Jalen on all his platforms. Instagram, what else? Instagram.
Instagram, Twitter.
You have a TikTok?
Nah, I mean we all have TikToks, but I don't post no content on there.
You don't like posting like.
Nah.
Why not?
Just not really my cup of tea. I don't really want people seeing that.
Okay.
I keep my private life private.
Okay. I like that. Okay. So follow him on all his platforms. They'll be below. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay up to date when we're posting our next episode. And yeah, you have anything you want to say to them? Anything you want to say to your fans? Any advice? Anything?
My fans that if I have any, I don't really keep up to date.
You
with
have
that stuff.
fans.
To my fans, I'll say thank you guys for supporting me on this long journey.
Mm-hmm.
I love you guys and I appreciate you guys.
Okay, and to the anything else to the
to the public, no. It was nice being here. I enjoyed myself. Hopefully I get back on here again. So
yes.
Till next time.
All right. See y'all next time.